Zigzag correction. The zigzag correction is the first pattern in the corrective phase that you need to learn. This is likely the easiest type of correction to learn since it has a lot in common with motive waves. Zigzag corrections have a simple three-wave structure that we are going to label as A, B, and C. Waves A and C are both motive in nature and have 5 subwaves within. Usually, they form an impulsive wave. Wave B is another correction, so it has 3 smaller waves within. Usually, wave B forms a small zigzag or a triangle. You really need to learn this part. In a zigzag, we have 5 waves in A, 3 waves in B, and 5 waves in C. Try to remember this pattern as 5-3-5. You can see that zigzag have the same amount of subwaves as the 1-2-3 from the motive patterns, but what separates this ABC from 1-2-3 is the ending point of wave C. Inside the zigzag, C is usually going to be equal to wave A, while in a motive phase, wave 3 is usually the longest. The zigzag correction is a common pattern to spot in waves 2, 4, and B. We have only 2 rules for the zigzag correction. Rule number 1. Wave B must complete below the starting point of wave A, and the rule 2 is that wave C must complete below the ending point of wave A. On this chart of the pound dollar, we can see some sort of a 3-wave movements that we labeled as the A, B, and C. But for us to prove that, for example, this is the zigzag, we need to find exact number of subwaves that we just talked about. So let's start from the bottom and see. We have a 5-wave move in the wave A. So ideally, we are going to build a potential zigzag. But by the time when we just have a 5-wave move to the upside, we can consider this to be wave A or a wave 1, because they both have a 5-wave move in the wave 1. Now, after that, in both wave B and the wave 2, we would expect to see a 3-wave move pullback, and that's exactly what we get. So either this was a wave B or the wave 2. But after we had a 5-wave move in the wave C, it was sure that this was just a simple zigzag correction and not a motive pattern like 1-2-3 impulsive wave. And I'm saying this only because if you go and check how big was the wave C compared to wave A, and you can see that more or less they are equal. And if this was the wave 3, we would probably expect to see much more aggressive movements to the upside. And especially after we failed lower after that, you are going to be 100% sure that you are in some sort of a zigzag. But we still need to check our 2 rules. And rule number 1 is that wave B needs to hold above the starting point of the wave A. That was true over here, and the final rule is that wave C needs to end above the ending point of the wave A. That was also true over here. So after a 3-wave move up that have a 5-3-5 pattern, we can be sure that this was some sort of a zigzag, so part of a corrective phase, and we would expect a 5-wave move lower after that. The next example is the Euro USD, where we can see a nice 3-wave move to the downside. Before we start looking for the smaller subwaves, let's see the wave A and the wave C. We cannot see a big difference between these 2 legs, and that's why I think this was some sort of a correction. Now, first of all, we can see the 5-wave move that look impulsive in the wave A, followed by a 3-wave move pullback in the wave B, and the wave B managed to hold below the starting point of the wave A. That's exactly what we want. And finally, we had a 5-wave move in the wave C. Over here in the wave C, we can see that the wave 1 of C was extended wave, but wave 3 is still not the shortest wave of the waves 1, 3, and 5, and the wave 4 holded below the territory of the wave 2. So technically speaking, this is a perfect 5-wave move to the downside. Now, before we confirm that this was the zigzag correction, let's check the two rules. The rule number 1 is that wave B needs to hold below the starting point of the wave A, and that was correct over here. And the second rule is that the wave C needs to end below the ending point of the wave A. That rule was also fine, so we can expect to see a 5-wave move to the upside in this case after the correction is over. The next example is the pound dollar. We had a strong push higher that we can call the wave A or 1. After that, a pullback in B and push higher in the wave C. So we have just the 3 waves right now. And if we check, we have a 5-wave move in wave A. We have a 3-wave move pullback in the wave B, and we have a strong push higher in the wave C. But since movements in the wave C are not so strong compared to the wave A and they are more or less equal, we are going to go with the zigzag and not the wave 3. And also, larger trend was down, and we know that any pullback to the upside at this moment should be some sort of a correction, and that's why I would rather prefer to go with the potential ABC as a zigzag over here. But let's check the rules. Wave B needs to hold above the starting point of the wave A, and the second rule is that the wave C needs to end above the ending point of the wave A. Both rules were fine, so we could expect to see a 5-wave move down after we completed this simple zigzag pattern. Quick tip: since we know that zigzag and multi-waves have the same amount of subwaves, every time wave 3 fails, we can watch for a potential zigzag to fit inside.